Oh, look, a sun bear. I've actually looked for these bears many times before, and I've never, ever seen one. The sun bear is this cryptic character that has never really properly been caught on film. So to catch a brief glimpse of a sun bear is really very, very special.
When brown bears awake, they need to exert dormant muscles. During hibernation, the bears don't eat, drink, pee, or poop. For half a year, they hardly move at all. Bears hunt alone, but in the swamp, there's no need. As the snow starts to melt, the familiar scent of carrion focuses them. The Swamp King tracks down the rotting feast, but a younger bear is already tucking in. His hunger makes him ornery and dangerous. But the young bear is having his first decent meal in over 6 months. He's not about to give it up to the Swamp King without a fight. And the bigger Swamp King is moving in for a piece. His reputation precedes him, and the young bear backs off. But the king is looking for a fight. The young bear is no match for the Swamp King. As the biggest and strongest, he claims the carcass and the territory. Standing 9 feet tall, the king marks the site with a scent. Now he's dominant, so he gets to eat first. And unless a bigger, stronger bear challenges him, he can have as much as he wants. Others have to wait their turn.
Bears are dangerous opportunists. They'll hunt, scavenge, and forage to survive. They'll also attack their own kind. In spring, female bears roam the karst, accompanied by young cubs. They're fiercely protective, especially when faced with a male that would readily kill the cubs to bring the female back into estrus. The male weighs his odds. The young cubs are oblivious to the danger, but their mother goes on the offensive instead of waiting for an attack. The male is not up for the fight. With the threat gone, the young bears devote themselves completely to play. They're learning how to get around in the karst, growing stronger and more confident as they explore. their mother stays close, teaching them what being a bear is all about. By the time they're 2, they'll be on their own. But for now, they're safe under their mother's watchful eye.
High in the Alpine, a top predator is on the rise and beginning a rite of spring. A boar grizzly racing towards the object of his desire. A female. The marathon of grizzly courtship, rarely witnessed, is a test of wills and endurance. The reluctant female can run in bursts up to 35 miles per hour. The boar must keep pace or risk losing her to a rival. So far, she seems unimpressed. The pursuit could last for days. Finally, she slows her pace and allows them close. But not too close. After a long chase, the female turns and greets her suitor. His trial is over. A fleeting moment of union that may live on with the next generation of Yellowstone grizzlies. If all goes well, by next spring, she'll have cubs at her side.
After the last monsoon, the family made the most of the fruiting trees. More than 3/4 of their diet was this delicacy. But by May, the fruit has almost disappeared. Luckily for Bibi, during lean times, she can adapt. She and her cubs specialize in eating ants and termites. At this time of year, 90% of their diet is made up of these abundant insects. Termites are a highly specialized form of cockroach. Social animals, they live in vast colonies, sometimes millions strong. Their nests can exist far underground and can be as hard as concrete. They are made from feces, soil, and partly digested plant material, glued together with saliva, not an easy barrier for any animal to get past. What's more, the ground here is covered in boulders. So how's a hungry bear to find the termites and then get at them? Fortunately for Bibi and her cubs, sloth bears have a technique for that. They are equipped with an acute sense of smell and can detect termites 3 feet underground. Once Bibi finds the entrance, even 100-pound rocks aren't much of a problem. But now that she's uncovered the nest, she has to open it. 3-inch curved claws on her front paws are perfectly shaped for digging through rock-hard termite nests. With these formidable tools, a hairless snout, and long, flexible lips, she can access a rich food supply that others can't. Blowing off the dirt, she sucks up the bugs like a vacuum cleaner. By watching their mother, her young cubs learn exactly how to do it for themselves. Sloth bears are so well adapted to this diet that they're missing their 2 front teeth, so they can suck and snuffle more efficiently. They can even close their nostrils on demand to stop insects from crawling into their nose. There doesn't seem to be anything slothful about these sloth bears. At just 8 months old, the cubs aren't yet strong enough to lift the large rocks or dig for themselves. But Bibi will supplement their diet by nursing them for at least another 4 months. So, as long as there's enough food, Bibi can provide all the milk her cubs need.
Summer arrives on Russia's wild sea. For a few short weeks, no ice anywhere. The summer waves bring a bounty of pink salmon. Pink salmon live only 2 years. As a result, they return to their birthplace earlier than other salmon species do, to spawn, usually in small streams near the coast. When the water is low, the salmon are trapped. Lured by an enticing scent in the wind, summer draws female brown bears to the coast. The cubs are about to be introduced to a future staple of their diet that they've never seen before. Small cubs, big prey. Practice makes perfect, though it'll take time. Trapped in ponds and puddles, the salmon can't escape. Although born with an instinct to fish, the young bears still aren't sure what to do with them. Like all youngsters, they play with their food. Early success can lead to misplaced confidence. Their watchful mother will keep training her young for life on their own. Both failure and achievement will arm the cubs with the skills to survive.
Down in the valley, 2 of this year's cubs have just emerged from their den. A legendary mother leads the way. Her name is Quad Mom, the matriarch of Yellowstone. One of the most revered grizzly sows in park history. In spring 2010, she emerged with 4 cubs, one of only a handful of quadruplets ever observed in Yellowstone. Quad Mom earned her name. Her fame spread, and so did her many offspring, who now range through the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Her legacy has helped bring grizzlies back from the brink of extinction. 40 years ago, the Yellowstone grizzly was placed on the endangered species list. At the time, fewer than 150 bears remained in the park. Their numbers decimated by a century of conflict with humans. But once protected, grizzlies flourished. Today, more than 700 grizzlies call Yellowstone home. Quad Mom is now more than 20 years old. Time is no longer on her side. She's among the oldest wild grizzlies ever to breed. These young cubs could be the last of her many litters. And the rising number of bears in Yellowstone has created a new challenge: competition. A gash raked across her forehead is a sign of recent trouble. It's the mark of an aggressive boar. A territorial male will kill cubs to bring a sow back into estrus. She can't let her guard down. She catches wind of something just over the horizon. The boar's scent has given him away. Time to leave, and quickly.
My name is Asgeir Helgestad. I am a wildlife cameraman from Norway. A few years ago, I met a beautiful polar bear mother with 2 little cubs. I gave her the name Frost.
Frost's home is Svalbard, a group of islands in the Arctic Ocean, just 650 miles from the North Pole.
For the last 20 years, this has been my second home. I met Frost the first time in April 2013. My snowmobile overheated while I was crossing a frozen fjord, so I had to stop. And that's when I saw her, far away in the distance. Her cubs were so small that they were almost impossible to spot. Now Frost had caught a seal, and she was so busy eating it that she paid barely any attention to me, so I could take a closer look. But not too close.
It's a brief first encounter, but its impression is lasting. Asgeir will not see Frost and her cubs again for several weeks.
These peaks, with their insects and fruit trees, offer rich pickings for sun bears. Across the rest of Asia, deforestation has shrunk their population by 30% over the last 3 decades. Salou could be a vital refuge. But to prove it, Gordon needs to see if they're breeding here.
Up there, there's a tangle of branches, and what that is, it's a sun bear nest. Sun bears will go up into trees, and like chimpanzees do, they'll break the branches and form a little platform. And you can sleep up there. So, this is a place where a sun bear has been. There's always a chance that you could come back.
Gordon's first job is to set up motion-triggered cameras. For the next 2 weeks, he'll check them every day.
look.
A sun bear. I've actually looked for these bears many times before and I've never, ever seen one. The sun bear is this cryptic character that has never really properly been caught on film. So to catch a brief glimpse of a sun bear is really very, very special indeed.
Sun bears are rapidly disappearing from Asia. Their forest habitat is vanishing, and poachers are hunting them.
Today, Kodiak Island is best known not for sea otters, but for another much bigger creature, the Kodiak brown bear. They have been separated from their mainland cousins for more than 10,000 years and have grown to become the largest subspecies of brown bear on Earth. This male, known as a boar, could weigh upwards of 1,500 pounds, 3/4 of a ton. After a long winter in their dens, these bears make for their local watering hole, like this one on Dog Salmon Creek, for a summertime feast. The specialty here is fresh wild salmon. In summer, this creek, like hundreds of others in Alaska, teems with large fish swimming upstream from the ocean to spawn. It's the only time that these normally solitary brown bears gather in large numbers to share a feast. Their densely packed fur coat enables them to stand in freezing cold meltwater for an hour or more as they wait for the right moment to strike. But most of the time, their patience is rewarded with nothing more than near misses. On a good day, though, a bear can consume 100 pounds of tasty, calorie-packed salmon. When they catch one, they go right for the fatty stomach, brain, and eggs, and often leave the rest untouched.
Spring is finally here. Icy plains transform into lakes and lush boreal forests, full of life. The bears are in their element. They have only a short summer to fatten up, and the protein from the rotting meat is going a long way. They must make up for lost time. But the ravens are a problem. They're a giveaway, shouting, "Here's the food." She-wolf is bound to her den in the forest. Her partner, Alpha, hasn't killed for days, and they have many mouths to feed. Then she sees them. Ravens. She summons her mate. With the reindeer gone, carrion is the next best thing. But when the pair arrive at the feast, they're faced with a welcome party. Wolf and bear are here for the same thing: dead meat. But the bears have laid claim. The two wolves are hopelessly outnumbered, but they're hungry, and so are their pups. They will need a game plan to get the big bears off the carcass. A young bear approaches. Perfect. He's not versed in wolf tactics and will scare easily. The wolves stage a mock charge on the young bear. And, as planned, it distracts the bigger adults. run to the young one's aid and leave the carcass unattended. Just what She-Wolf was waiting for. She just needs a little meat. The bears have been fooled, and they know it. Most of the carcass is still there, so they get back to the business of fattening up. Little do they know, they haven't seen the last of the wolves. It's mating season for the bears of the swamp, and tension is running high. This is the Swamp King's turf. He's looking for a mate. But now, there's an intruder with the same agenda. She-Wolf is also on the scene. She's back to get more food for the yearlings. Her timing has to be perfect. A bear fight could count in her favor. The Swamp King challenges the intruder. But with one swipe of a massive paw, the king is dethroned. The intruder is the new ruler. The Swamp King is deposed. The social upheaval distracts the bears, and She-Wolf takes her chance. This time, she scores big. The intruder lets her go. He has no energy left after the fight. She'll gorge before returning to the forest.